Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be with each of you today. This is such a special time to come together. And wow, what a great group of leaders. You are special because you've been selected to be here and to be in this leadership capacity. And I know you are learning great things. You'll have wonderful takeaways when you go back into your communities. I just recently met my Fitch group. Where are they? I'm enjoying speaking after the governor because I'm going to tell you a few things that we've all been doing together. And I see Commissioner Cheney is here, and we all work very well together on behalf of the state. Well, you all are a very friendly crowd, and I'm delighted to be here with you. But I'll tell you, the other night, I threw out the first pitch at the high school baseball games, at the championship game. It can be a little taunting. Anybody a pitcher here? Yeah, it's a long way, right? Your arms get tired. So I was selected to throw out the pitch. I walked out, and the catcher was very nice. He said, "Madam Treasurer, you're going to be fine. You're going to get it across." Well, when you don't do that, like some of you do regularly, it's a little worrisome. But I got out there, and then they kept kind of taunting me, going, "Come on, put the heat on. Put some heat on it." So I was like, oh, no. Well, a little nervous there at the big Trustmark Stadium. But luckily, I did a wind-up, and I got it directly over home plate in the strike zone. So I figured that was a pretty good deal to be able to do that, and then the crowd was very, very friendly after that because they show it, on the Jumbotron many times over. So for those of you who are pitchers, I have a new appreciation for what you do. But I'm glad to be here with you all. I want to talk a little bit about the Treasurer's Office. I've been in this job now for 3.5 years and bring over 30 years experience to this job in many capacities as a bond lawyer, having run 2 agencies. But most of you probably don't have any idea what we do at the State Treasurer's Office. It's the state bank, and we run all the daily transactions for every agency, all the dollars that come through the state of Mississippi, and we make the disbursements. So we're the bank. I'm the chief financial officer. Anybody have any idea about how many dollars we do per year as the state bank in transactional work? So it's a lot. Now here's some different numbers. How about $25 billion a year? It's a pretty significant bank, isn't it? So we're doing all those daily transactions. We're making sure that monies are paid, they're paid timely, the right individuals, the right corporations, the right vendors are getting their dollars. And we're doing it in a very efficient and effective manner. We've moved very much to electronic transfer of funds, which is probably what most of you do with your phones or your iPads or computers. And so we've taken it to that level for our business as the State Treasurer's Office. But we also handle money in another way. We're responsible for the debt on the bonds. Now, state bonds are what we do. If we sell, we go to market, we bring in dollars on behalf of the state. It's like our credit card. And we do that, and we go out and we get the dollars. We get a very good interest rate, and we have a lot of people that want to buy our bonds. And why is that? Because we have a very good credit rating. We have a AA. So the governor and I go every year, and we speak to the rating agencies, and we talk about our credit. And we talk about just what he talked about a lot today, about our economic growth. What are we doing in our medical communities? What about the medical schools, pharmacy schools? What are we building here at every campus on the infrastructure? We talk about the jobs that are coming in, the new companies, the companies that are growing, because that goes back to our credit rating. So in a few weeks, we'll be having that conversation with 3 rating agencies. We'll be talking to Moody's and Standard & Poor's and Fitch. Now, don't you think Fitch, I'm the only state treasurer named Fitch, they should give us a AAA, right? I'm going to keep working on them, but we have a AA, very good. But it's important that we have that conversation because that's our financial responsibility. That's our due diligence. So we're going to talk with them about that. Now, we go to market every year, and we sell our bonds. Now, I challenge my teams, how do you do it better? How do you become more proactive? What do you do in the bond market that makes us a better state? So we went to market recently, and this is the second time where we have been able to refund and refinance our bonds. The first time we saved $33 million. That's a lot of dollars for taxpayers. Then we did it in February, we saved another $36 million. That's the bottom line. If you're a taxpayer, And we've been able to be proactive and save $69 million in the last 3.5 years. That's phenomenal. Because that means when the legislature's in session, that's dollars that are saved and can be expended on different projects or different needs or different agencies. So those are some of the basic things that we do at the Treasurer's Office. Now, there are a lot of fun things we do, too. Gregory mentioned unclaimed property. Unclaimed property. So the law says if a financial institution, a utility company, a life insurance policy has come due and they can't find the rightful owner, then guess what? After holding it for 5 years, they have to get to the Treasurer's Office. And our mission is to find the rightful owner, give them their dollars back, and allow them to have use of their own money. So to date, $44 million have been given back in 3.5 years. 44. Now, 1 in 5 Mississippians have unclaimed property. So you need to go back and talk to your parents, your grandparents, aunts and uncles, because somebody's going to have money. Sometimes it's smaller amounts. Sometimes it's very large amounts. Most recently, we've been doing a tabloid in the papers. We've been doing a big push to get people to get their monies back. About $3.5 million have already been matched up with their owners. But the biggest ones that came in the last 2 weeks, $190,000. Wow, wouldn't you like to be that recipient? Another $70,000. So it's exciting, kind of like Publishers Clearinghouse. Y'all see that commercial comes on? So this is kind of what we are. It's the human interest side where we're giving dollars back to the rightful owners. Now, it's not only for individuals, it's corporations, and sometimes it's nonprofit. Not very far from here is the Palmer Home. And if anybody's from that area in Columbus, anybody from that area? Yeah. So the Palmer Home is a wonderful organization that takes care of children in a Christian environment. So somebody left in their will to them over $100,000. So we've been able to place those dollars back with the rightful owners. So anyway, it's a very good thing and an economic driver. Because you're putting over $40-something million back into the economy. This is returning it over 7 times. Very important. So unclaimed property, one of the other big agendas that we have in the Treasurer's Office. Now, college, I would venture to say that most of you are thinking about college. It'll be here, right? 2 semesters away. But who's counting, huh? And after Christmas, you're pretty much on the downhill slide, right? Who all has decided where they're going to school? Let me see. Oh, a good many. Good deal. Now, why is college so important? And why is that important to what the Treasurer's Office says? Well, first of all, let me just go out and tell you the largest factor that's weighing on everybody's mind. First of all, young people are 1/3 of our population. But guess what? You're 100% of the future. Remember Coach Ken Carter? He said that to his team. You're 100% of the future. So as I talk through that, think about that as I continue to talk about what's happening in the Treasurer's Office and with the financial world. So why is college savings an important part of the Treasurer's Office? Did you know we run 2 programs? One of them's called the Impact. It's a prepaid tuition plan. So you're a parent, grandparent, someone could purchase a tuition plan for you in the future. Some of you may even have an Impact plan. And if you do that, it's wonderful. But you know what? That's a way to get you into school. That's a critical savings tool that the Treasurer's Office runs. Now, I'll tell you, as a leader, sometimes it's not easy when you have to run programs. When I got to the office, I looked at that program and I went, I don't think it has the sustainability because it's a full faith and credit of the state program. That means all the taxpayers are responsible for that program. So sometimes as a leader, you have to make some really tough decisions. But you know it's the right thing to do. So we looked at it, brought in an actuarial auditor team, and we decided at that present moment it was not sustainable. We had to get it back going and get it more healthy and make it cost neutral to the taxpayers. And so I'm excited to say that we reopened in October. Now, there are only 4 states that have a prepaid tuition plan backed by the full faith and credit of the states. Only 4. So it's important that we really get out there and we get that program up and going, make it available. But here's the other program, MAX, Mississippi Affordable College Savings Program. That's the affordable one. And that's just, if you want to put in $20 a month, $2,000 a year, whatever is affordable and meets the budget of your family, your parents, your grandparents. Now, we do have one of the best 529 programs in the country. Why? Because our legislature had a lot of foresight when this program was initiated about 15 years ago, and you get a state tax deduction. There are not a lot of plans that give you a state tax deduction. So that pays for your tuition, room and board, books, and you all will find out pretty quickly, tuition, room and board, and books add up pretty quickly. So we're marketing that program. We're up 64% in that. 17% of new contributions. It runs at about $186 million right now in that program. And we've looked at it from a different angle. We're marketing it payroll deduction, so companies and businesses can put it in, and your parents and your aunts and uncles or whomever can give on your behalf. Okay, so you say, why is that still important with the Treasurer's Office? Well, because the bottom line is, statistics show that if somebody saves for you, for a young person, that person is 7 times more likely to further their education. 7. Why? Because someone valued you, someone believed in you, and someone said that person can be successful in their next step in life. So why is that important to all of us in the big scheme of things? Because you are the future. You're the next workforce. You're the next generation. You're the next governor. You're the next legislator. You could be the next treasurer. You could own your own business. You could run a big company here in Mississippi. So we believe in helping families progress to that next step. But there's another factor, and the governor did a great job talking about education, and again, why that's so important to all of us. Well, there's a component we're working on, and it's called TEAM, Treasurer's Education About Financial Literacy. Personal finance. Now, we need to teach you that life skill. I would venture to say most of you don't know anything about compounded interest, mortgages, a lot of insurance, different levels. So let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about personal finance. Because some of you are doing it, you don't even realize. Who has a phone in here? Almost everybody. Who pays for your phone? A lot of parents, grandparents, some of you do it. Anybody have a vehicle? Yeah. Who puts the gas in it? You do? Good. See, some financial literacy. And what about the oil changes and the maintenance and the insurance? Ah, good. All right, so now, who has a job? Great. You ever looked at your paycheck? So who's Mr. FICA? Who's taking all your money, right? Federal. So you have to understand financial education to understand exactly what's in your paycheck, what's going to taxes, what your bottom line is, what are your benefits in there, because it's extremely important. Now here's a true story. Some of you might be guilty of this. So I have a friend, and her teenage daughter went to college a couple years ago. She went through the bank. She swiped her ATM card. She called her mom and she said, "Mom, thank you for putting in that extra $300. My slip says $325 are in my account." Her mother said, "I didn't put an extra $300 in your account." She said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Absolutely." Well, maybe the grandparents did. Well, let me call the grandparents and see if your grandparents put in some extra money. Talked to the grandparents. They said, "No, we didn't put any money in for her." She called her back and she said, "I'm sorry, we don't have $300 extra in your account. You still have your ATM slip." "Yes, ma'am." "Pull it out." She said it very distinctly says $325. She said, "Is there a little dash in front of that?" "Yes, ma'am." Who knows what that means? You're overdrawn. Right. You owe money now to the bank, right? Not a good plan. So how many of you balance your checkbook, or do you just drive through the ATM and see if you have any money in your account? Oh. So financial literacy is very important, because if you don't understand that skill, it's the root of all the other things that you do. It's extremely important. So what we realized is that financial literacy is not taught so much in our schools. So how do we get that information to you all? How do you get to learn about all those different facets of financial information that you need to know? So took it to the legislature. Didn't work very well in the sense that they weren't ready to make it mandatory, but looked at it from a different pathway. I think as leaders you have to go, sometimes you run into challenges and you see that and you go, well, what's the solution? And how do we go forward in a positive way? So TEAM was created. We've got private partners. They're giving money. They're allowing, we're partnering with the Mississippi Council on Economic Education to train our teachers, because think about it, our teachers are so critical. And they have such a wonderful circle of influence. Not only are they teaching you, they're involved in their communities and in their churches and organizations. So important to train the teachers in financial education, but then also to bring a tool, a web-based tool, and I know some of you are doing it in your schools, that EverFi is providing. It's a web-based module. Benchmark it, and you can talk about it, you can see how you've done. Anybody taking the EverFi program? Good deal. Very successful. So important that we do that and that you understand that. Now, why is that again important? First, we have to understand your basic personal finance. We've got to change the financial culture of our state. Do you know there was a report that came out about 18 months ago, and it said Mississippi is the least financially capable state in the country. The least. That's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. We've done you a disservice by not teaching you about personal finance. 64% of Mississippians have no savings. And what do they do when they have no savings? They go to credit cards. And then what happens? Then they're in debt, and then they're in bankrupt. And it's just a terrible, terrible position to be in. And it affects our companies. So many businesses say, we don't like to garnish wages for our employees. We don't like to see their cars being repossessed. And we certainly don't like to see their homes being foreclosed on. Again, the bottom line of why we need to understand personal finance. Now let's take it up another notch, right? So we need to understand it in our state. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the financial health, and I know the governor talked about it in some regards. So our budget's about a little over $6 billion for the state of Mississippi. Now we have a rainy day fund that is full to capacity. We do savings very well. We've been very good stewards of our dollars. Over $400 million are in our rainy day fund. The rating agencies like that because, again, we're being very diligent about how we handle our dollars. So financially doing very well. Tax collections and revenues have been up. Now, are they up as high as we'd like for them to be? But they're over the sine die estimate in our forecast. And that's important because that shows the economy is starting to go up a little bit. It's beginning to tick a little bit. And growth is beginning to happen. So we see that as very good posture for our state. Now, the country on a whole, we're pretty much experiencing some serious issues. How many knows how much debt we have as the country right now? $18 trillion. Who's going to pay for that? You all. So how do we make the change? How do we financially make that culture change? Well, it begins right here with each of you, with every state taking this on as a serious issue. And so as we change that, we then change what happens in Washington. We change our mantra on how we pay our bills. And we begin to become more of a savings country like we were originally. Now, this is going to be pretty alarming to you as well. Did you know that other countries own 47% of our debt? 47% of our debt is owned by other countries. Do you know who owns the most? China. It's pretty scary. So China, and then Japan, and then the United Kingdom, and then the OPEC oil countries, and then, guess who just moved up to number 5? Brazil. Okay, it's time to rethink that, isn't it? Because you know what? We have a lot of threats happening to our country right now with all the things that are happening in the Middle East, with the things that are happening here in our own country, protection-wise, and how do we handle that? But you know what the Joint Chief of Staff said not long ago? Our biggest threat is our national debt. It's our national debt. Why is that? Because that means our ownership of our country is held by 47% of other nations. So it's time that we really take a hard look at our whole financial health of our country. So that's why it's important to stop and have the conversation about, well, who pays your phone bill? Do you save? What do you do in your state? And then ultimately, what do you do in your country? So my job is very much the role to talk about our financial responsibilities, to have that discussion with y'all. Now I want to take just a minute and talk to you about leaders. You're obviously all here because you are outstanding leaders in your communities. But I want to give you some challenges. I want you to think about a few things. There are a lot of ways that you can become successful, but it's hard work. You have to be prepared to give of yourself. You know, you have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge what you do every day and what impact that you make. How do you make a difference? You know what? We all have the same 24 hours, right? I don't have any more than the rest of you. And he doesn't have any more, and he doesn't have any more. But it's what you choose to do with your 24 hours. So challenge yourself. Think about achievement. What do you want to achieve? How do you achieve it? And most importantly, how do you make a difference? What do you do that changes a life or makes a difference? So think about that. Think about challenging the status quo. You all are in a future position where you can look at things differently, more efficiently, more effectively. And so look at challenging the status quo. Because almost every time you challenge it and you move it to a different model, it's more successful and more beneficial in the long run. Persevere. That's hard to think about. But you know, sometimes failure makes you stronger. And you keep going. And you take on those challenges. And you look back and you go, I am going to achieve. And you take that to heart. And you continue to look at what is your plan. I challenge each of you to think about what's your personal development plan. Right now you're getting ready to go to your last year, and that's so exciting. But what are you going to do this senior year? What's your first year at college going to be like? Are you going to get involved? Are you going to be a part of different student groups? Are you going to be engaged in community service? What are you going to do that makes a difference? So think about your personal development plan. What you see yourself doing this year, a year out, 3 years, 5. What are your long-range goals? Because nobody sets those for you. You get to do that, right? And you need to be thinking about that. And then lastly, you know, look for opportunities. Go out and solicit opportunities. You know, you have the opportunity to go and find what you want to do. People don't come by and just go, hey, I'm going to give you this job. You make that happen because of all those other things you've done to become a very successful young leader. And we are expecting you to do that. You know, leadership is very much an action word. Leaders truly give of themselves. They give of their time and their effort. And they're really there to make a difference. I mean, if you pull back, you look at leaders, you go, you know what? Leaders are not just a leader. They're really how they perform. And so it'll be up to you to take that next step for performance. So those are my challenges to you as you go forward. And I'm excited for each of you. You've got a great pathway ahead of you, and I hope that all will go well as you approach your senior year and you think about this. And God bless you. Thank you.